Let's hang out. You grabbed the large beach towel from off your bed and stuffed it into a bag. You had already packed your water bottle for the upcoming beach hangout session. The stars had aligned, and somehow everyone was free today. Miranda had set things up with several bubbly phone calls between you, Cove, and Terry to find a time to hit the beach. You were hoping that this would be a fun time together. That's so exciting! Your cousin's voice sounded over the speaker of your phone. She had been hyping you up for the beach for the last little while.
Right?
Anyways, speaking of plans, guess what? I'm going to quite the little event myself later this week. You listened as you got ready and occasionally putting in a comment or asking for clarification. Rummaging around for beachwear ended up distracting you. Your height had complicated your swimsuit shopping. Not many swimsuits were well-fitting on someone who's petite. And then for the shape of your body, oof. Social anxiety, and oof. Delicate. There was a fragility to your build. You had to be careful with it. You'd kept mostly the same shape you'd had throughout your teenage years. You were used to your body, and your body was used to your habits. You knew for sure that you were non-binary. Your identity had different facets to it. You still didn't know what identity you truly felt comfortable with. You still had things to figure out for yourself. Your identity was a work in progress. Maybe someday we would find something that would fit, but for now you took things one day at a time. And, oof. I guess. You're medium, you supposed. You were okay with your breasts for now, but not so okay with them that potential changes weren't on your mind. That was all. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. Your body was you, and it was a good one that you felt content in. You used to not feel as good when you were younger, but you had since grown into your body. You felt more at home now and less uncomfortable.
Hey!
Risa, am I losing you? Sorry, it's fine. And is it really? If you're totally sure, then what are you wearing? You chose to wear casual clothes. You picked a one-piece, you picked a two-piece, you picked a bikini or tankini. A wetsuit. Swim trunks with a top. While you dug around your drawers, you tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. Glasses for sure. You got everything and put it on. With you now dressed and ready, you checked the time on your phone. It was pretty close to when everyone was supposed to meet. You didn't worry too much about being late, given how close to the beach was from your house, but it was still best if you got going. Ready or not, beach, here I come. Ah, finally! Send me a pic of your look. I've been waiting. Sure. You took a quick snap that showed your beachwear. It was only a few taps on your phone, and then Lee was awing over it.
Very nice.
Aw, you look hot. She whistled, and you could picture her smile. Okay, as much as I want to keep talking to you forever, you better get going. That's a look everyone should see.
Talk to you later.
Call me later. I want to hear all about it. You could hear some static as she shifted around her phone. You have fun. It's gonna be great. Your friends are lucky to have you. Bye, Risa. Bye. You pressed the red button on your phone and ended the call. With your things all stuffed in your bag, you quickly left your house. When you made it out into the neighborhood, you spotted Cove. He looked like he had just left his own house as well. He wore a swimsuit. His towel was stuffed under his arm, and he was using his hands to text. He briefly glanced up and noticed you. Hello. Hey. I just heard from Terry. I guess she and Miranda should be at the beach any time now. You nodded and he put his phone down. I guess we could head to the beach and wait for them there. You agreed, and Cove shot off a quick text to the two of them where you'd be. Cove gave you a thumbs up after the message was sent. It was a familiar path to walk, and it wasn't long until you reached the shore. Cove laid out his towel on the warm sand. You set up your stuff beside him and looked out into the ocean. The rolling swells hit the shore rhythmically. You all had lucked out. It was a beautiful day. The sky was clear and the waves were good. It was a balmy summer day, but with a pleasant breeze to keep things comfortable. Essentially, it was perfect. Do you feel like heading into the water? Maybe just walk down the shore, or would you want to do something here? Either way. Maybe a little walk at first, anyway. We can do that, then. Cove nodded, accepting the plan. He kicked some sand off his towel absent-mindedly. Yeah, sounds nice. He seemed like he wanted to say something else. He considered speaking up, but nothing came to mind. Cove shrugged and then busied himself with smoothing out his already straightened towel. Luckily, it didn't take long until you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight for you. Miranda was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and flowing like a cape. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious as she got closer. Cove waved them on with a big grin. You laughed. They always found a way to make such a memorable entrance. Oh, Miranda's bathing suit is so cute. And Terry's in a diver suit. The two officially arrived at Cove's and you're set up. Looking completely ready for an ocean adventure. They were already in their swimwear and raring to go. Hey Terry, Miranda, welcome to our beach. Hi. Hey, hello. She beamed and Miranda nodded with a smile. Man, I'm so pumped. Yeah, I'm really glad this worked out. What have you guys been up to over here in your town? Cove, Risa, have we missed things? Cove blinked and then shrugged when nothing he wanted to mention came to mind. You shrugged like Cove. You gave a vague answer. You gave her a recap over how your family was doing. I didn't know. I shrugged. Terry tilted her head. She then turned on Miranda with a grin. Then, what about you? Anything you can say, Ronnie? Miranda looked back and forth between you and Cove, then with a small evil smirk, she too shrugged. The shruggers. Oh, come on, somebody's gotta answer. Miranda burst out giggling and Cove snorted. Terry then started talking about her morning and how she'd almost overslept since she stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less back during school. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently everything had gone smoothly. She'd met up with Terry on the way here and you knew the rest. Poe offered a suggestion to the girls. Hey, let's walk while we catch up. Oh yeah, definitely. Once everyone's stuff was settled on the beach, the group strolled over to the shoreline. The wet sand was cool under your feet. A wave rushed up and covered your ankles in water. You flinched from the suddenness of it, but by the next wave you were acclimated. You took another step forward and sank a little into the ground. Behind you, your footprints were soon smoothed out by the waves. Your friends chatted as you all walked together. You took turns pointing out cool shells or pieces of sea glass. It was a relaxing jaunt. Hours passed and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key and some more exhausting. For you, it was another break time. You sat on your towel and sipped at some water. Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms to force up sand around Terry's sides. Cove worked on covering Terry's feet. You took another drink and closed your eyes. Eventually, a shadow passed over you, dampening the light that was still notable even behind your eyelids. You checked to see Cove had joined you there. He knelt down to dig around in the pile of assorted beach stuff in the middle of everyone's towel setup, and pulled out the sunscreen. He sat next to you on his towel. He opened the bottle with a soft pop and began to reapply the cream. Hey. Hey. After he finished up, Cove let out a comfortable sigh and looked off into the distance, but then he sighed again, this time in an exaggeratedly disappointed way. You wondered if he was going to sigh again, even more dramatically if you didn't say anything. You raised an eyebrow. Yeah, that sounds like me. You raised a questioning eyebrow. You made it half as dramatic as Cove's expression, and he had to stifle a smirk. Cove shook his head, comically despondent. His frown didn't match the sparkle in his eyes. I'm just becoming another jaded adult, that's all. Now you were really confused. You waited for him to continue, and his next sigh did not disappoint. It was the most ridiculously sad sigh you had ever heard. Then he smiled a little. Mermaids aren't real. Is that what you're sad about, eh? What? That had not been what you were expecting, he continued. You know how much I liked mermaids as a kid. Well, merfolk as a whole. I really hoped that they were out there. I mean, the ocean's a big place, right? They could be somewhere. But the older I got, the more I had to accept it. They were just a fairy tale. He jerked his head over to the waterline and the rolling waves. They crashed against the shore and then drew back. This is the perfect beach for them. It's pretty, vast, and never too crowded. If merfolk did exist, we definitely would have met one by now. Or at least we would have heard of someone else seeing one, but nothing. He acted as though that result was a true bafflement. He let his head hang. I gotta let the dream go. He burst into laughter. That's hardly proof. It's not like this is the only beach in the world. You pretended to be shocked and disappointed. You shook your head. Wow, good for you with that revelation. You laughed. That was hilarious. Cove chuckled a little to himself. Eyes tilted off into the sea, his face still low. A seagull flew by. It might as well have carried Cove's mermaid hopes off with it, as he turned his attention to putting his things away after that. You put your drink in your other hand, and Cove finished packing away the sunscreen in silence. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. You saw that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls Miranda had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. We're gonna have to start over again on that part. Do you want to just give up on this now?
No way.
No way! The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore. Just realized that the voice actor for Terry is deeper than I'm doing. Okay, if you're sure, I'll try to fix this. Miranda started to rebury her, and Terry shot her a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her crumbled, and Miranda put her head in her hands. Cove caught your eye and started to drag himself up. Seems like we're needed. You agreed and followed him over to the girls. Miranda nodded at you both with appreciation, and the three of you did your best to finish the job. You all worked out a system of using just enough wet sand to help hold the rest together. With 3 people, it didn't take long for Terry to be entombed. Terry grinned massively, and Miranda offered high fives. The pile was officially done. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Would be funny if, like, she burst out at the same time. Yeah. Resembling the Kool-Aid Man, she kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Oh, yeah! Sand went flying in all directions, and a Terry-shaped imprint was left behind. Miranda yelled again, and Cove chuckled. There probably wasn't a better way to get out of it. The 4 of you continued to have a good time. You went on a shell hunt. Miranda managed to find the biggest, while you found the most colorful. Cove caught a tiny crab. You did a bit of everything. There were impromptu games to just soaking up each other's company. However, after a while, you had all run out of water, drinkable water anyway. It was decided that you'd head to your or Cove's house. Things were gathered, and you started cheerfully walk up the road. What next? I don't have anywhere to go, so it could be whatever. Same. I'm guessing we can keep hanging out? Terry snorted and readjusted her grip on things. Doesn't sound too sure there, Cove. By this point, you could see your house. It hadn't taken you long to make the trip. The conversation continued with everyone throwing out suggestions. Are people hungry? She looked from face to face in inspection. Cove and Miranda shrugged in concert. No one was overtly opposed to it. However, you weren't really starving. It wasn't quite a mealtime. We could get dessert. Miranda put a finger on her lip and thought. With a smile, her voice became more confident. Yeah, that would be fun. Terry considered it, and then shot Miranda a thumbs up. Sounds great to me. I can definitely go for that. I'm fine with that if everyone else wants to. But there's nothing sweet at my house. Your friends glanced at Cove and his place. He shook his head immediately. Dad doesn't have anything good either. I mean, unless you want dessert-flavored protein shakes. Ew, no! She cut in and held her hands up as if trying to ward off something evil. Cove smirked. It's not that bad. Nope. Well, there has to be some kind of sweet shop around here. Let's look it up. Terry nodded and started to dig around in her bag. I like the way you think. Terry continued to rummage in her bag and grew increasingly frustrated. She puffed out her cheeks and knelt down, setting the bag on the ground. With both hands free, she was finally able to fish out her phone. She raised it up in triumph for a brief moment of celebration. I'll search for something good. Terry got back to her feet, hefting the bag over one arm, tapping away at her screen in the other. But... She assessed Cove from top to bottom. No shirt, no shoes, no service. Cove glanced down at his bare chest and feet, having not even registered it prior. He chuckled a little. I'll grab something. Cove moved over to his house. You looked towards yours. You waited outside with the girls. You watched Cove disappear into his house. Terry was deep in the midst of scrolling through food options. You shuffled over to where you could see, and Miranda did the same. There's ice cream. People love ice cream, especially around here. I don't really feel like ice cream. Cool, 'cause I don't either. She flicked her finger up and another ice cream place showed up. Melty Moo-Moo's frozen treats with an unfortunate cartoon mascot. I like ice cream, it's just not for today. There has to be something else. You thought on it, and Terry kept scrolling. You heard a door open and Cove reappeared. Orca! You were about to be surprised at how quick he was, but then noticed he'd just thrown on a t-shirt over his swim trunks and slipped on a pair of sandals, of course. Hey. Everyone else exchanged their respective greetings and then looked back at Terry's phone. Terry scrolled further and then made an interested exclamation. Oh, what about this place? They sell crepes. That's something you don't see every day. Look how fancy they are. She shoved her phone into your face. It seemed like a cute shop. It didn't show any pictures of the actual building, but the food seemed good. It was one of those places that put a lot of effort into presentation with branded wrapping for crepes and well-applied toppings. Weird. I've never heard of it. I haven't either. Mysterious, but crepes are so good. She nodded her approval as Terry admired more of the photos. I'd go. It's not too far, but we could drive. Terry cheered at the success of a plan made, and you all walked around to Cove's car. He had to run inside once more to grab his keys. You wrote, "Wash me" in the dirt on his car. You waited for Cove. Terry leaned back against the car door as the group stood by for his return. The car beeped and unlocked. Cove ran up to you with his car keys in hand. His hair slipped into his face and he brushed it back. What hair? He has short hair. Shotgun! She clambered into the passenger seat without hesitation. You didn't argue and climbed into the back with Miranda. Terry activated the directions on her phone map and acted as their navigator, directing Cove to the crepes. The GPS tried to get Cove to turn into a non-existent road once and wanted him to do a U-turn instead of just using a left turn, but with Terry looking at the actual path, it went smooth enough. You were led to a small stall in a parking lot rather than a full building. That explained why there hadn't been pictures of the crepe's interior and why it was new to you despite living in this town your entire life. It was a completely new structure that popped up recently. There was a window you could walk up to and one for cars to drive up to. Cove parked with a laugh.
Come on.
I don't think I needed to put a shirt on for this, but I still want to try it. Let's go.
What?
Do you not trust us to eat in your car? She gestured to the drive-thru option. Cove shook his head with a snort. I trust some people here, maybe, but wouldn't it be more fun to actually check it out? Everyone acknowledged his point and piled out. Terry tried to tease Cove a little, but Miranda started talking about the last time she had crepes. Apparently, they'd been a dessert explosion topped with multiple sauces, powdered sugar, and what Miranda was pretty sure had to be cake icing. That's sweet.
So great.
Literally, it was so good, but I regretted it so much. I couldn't finish it, and I really tried. You can do it this time, Randy. Ooh, crepes. There were some laughs. When you got up to the menu, you realized that there were more than just crepes. There were definitely crepes, many crepes. However, the stall also had a lot of different drinks as well. Teas, smoothies, milkshakes. Jackpot! She grinned and held out her fist for a fist bump. Miranda high-fived it. The two stared at the awkward, vaguely turkey-shaped hand. Vaguely turkey-shaped hand configuration they had made and then slowly put their hands down. Cove's mouth twitched in a smile. You stepped up to order first. You glanced back at the menu. You ordered a crepe. And a drink. I'd like to get a crepe and a drink, please. There was a woman who looked a little older than you taking the orders. She smiled back at you, ready to hear the specifics of your purchase. For the crepe itself, you wanted... Ooh, chocolate. For the filling and toppings, you picked... I see powdered sugar. Chocolate. Ooh. Berries. Yes. Bananas. Chocolate chips and whipped cream. Sure. After you picked the size, you were asked what you wanted to drink. You ordered... More chocolate? All the chocolate. Give me all the chocolate. Yeah, fuck it. All the chocolate. You could also add a mix-in or toppings for the drink. Ooh. Chocolate. Chocolate. I could go nuts. Chocolate with a hint of caramel would be good. And, yeah. You paid and stepped aside to let your friends order. Cove got a lemon crepe with powdered sugar on top and mixed berries. He also got a plain strawberry smoothie. Terry went crazy with topping. Although she ordered a plain crepe, she had it smothered with whipped cream, cream cheese, chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and bananas. Miranda opted for a frap with a caramel syrup and condensed milk. The four of you stood off to the side as you waited for your treats. I heard what you ordered, Risa. I'm glad I'm not the only one going for a drink and a crepe. I couldn't pick just one, and why not? Exactly. It's gonna be good. Risa, man, your crepe is gonna rock. I know, it's like super chocolatey. High five for topping appreciation. She held out her hand expectantly. You gave her a high five. You fist bumped her palm. Oh, I should have done that. Damn it. Missed opportunity. You hit her hand with a satisfying smack. Order for Risa. Oh, I've got to get that. You grabbed your order. The others didn't take much time after that. With the goods collected, everyone admired their treats. Terry dug right into hers, and Miranda gave hers a tentative sip. Terry nodded acceptingly, with her mouth completely full. Miranda tilted the frap over to her with a grin. Terry sipped it and clearly loved it. She raised her crepe over to Miranda. You could tell that there was an intent to make it look nice, but with all the assorted toppings piled on, only so much could be done. Miranda took a huge bite and with gusto and sighed happily. Terry seemed satisfied and took another slurp of Miranda's drink. They had both only gotten one thing, probably because they knew they'd end up sharing. Which is smart. Could I try yours, Go? Terry, Miranda, can I join in the sharing? You offered to share your order with everyone. You said nothing and started consuming. You tasted your order and let out a happy sigh. You paid little attention to your friends and just focused on what you had. With that, Cove started to eat his treats in earnest. You saw him take a huge gulp of his smoothie, and then without swallowing, he added a bite of his lemon crepe. Cove? Terry tore off a piece of her crepe and held it out to Cove. Care to make a trade? Sure. Instead of continuing to loiter in the parking lot, the four of you started to walk down the sidewalk. There was a lot of sharing going on, with crepe bits and toppings being passed around. You wouldn't have been surprised if Terry ended up drinking more frap than Miranda did. You kept going down the way, eating, drinking, and chatting. You hadn't realized just how far the group of you had wandered until you ended up at the now leaving sign. Apparently you were just about to walk right out into the middle of nowhere. Terry took her mouth off Miranda's straw and stopped sipping the frap. Impossible! Preposterous! How are we already at the end? I always forget how tiny this town really is. Cove chuckled a little and swallowed a chunk of Terry's crepe.
I guess.
It kind of is, huh? It didn't feel that small when we were growing up. Definitely felt bigger than then. It always seemed like there wasn't much here. There are tinier places out there. You guys are lucky to live in decent-sized cities. You quietly nodded along. Not disagreeing with Cove, you gave acknowledgement of his words. Sunset Bird really did feel smaller these days. I guess this means we should probably head back. One doesn't just walk into nowhere land. We're not only one, Terry. There's four of us. Terry scrunched up her face, not wanting to acknowledge the bad joke. She decided to ignore that. It stinks having to go all the way back. Yeah, but it's not like there's anything out in that direction. And if we did keep going forward, it'd be an even longer trip home. You stared off into the stretch of road as Cove agreed that he didn't want to go out any further. Can we take a break here first before we turn around? We've been walking for a while and someone finished my drink. Right on cue, Terry loudly sucked air from the straw. It was so good! Miranda looked at her, but Terry remained unrepentant. In the end, though, it was agreed to hang around the sign before heading back to the car. It didn't take long to finish the rest of the food and drinks. Everyone gathered up the trash and stuffed it into bags and pockets for now. The group relaxed on the grass, keeping account of all the cars that drove past. It was not a high number. 14. The newest passing car drove into town from somewhere outside, but as the vehicle came by, it slowed down and you watched as it ultimately rolled to a complete stop. The black car parked right by the now leaving sign. Everyone exchanged a baffled look. But then the tinted window rolled down and the driver peered out. As soon as you saw his hair, you recognized him. No one else you knew presented themselves so distinctly. "Hey, neighbors." Cove openly sighed when he recognized him, afterwards sucking sulkily at the straw of his long empty drink. You waved at him. Hi, you just wondered what he was doing here. You wished he hadn't stopped to chat. You smiled and were excited to see him. You just wondered what he was doing. It was pretty random to just so happen to come across someone like Baxter. He seemed to be driving into town as well, so you wondered what his day had looked like. He looked sharp and sophisticated, like he'd just done something professional. Well, if it was now professional to look a little goth, that is. And you thought about the odd picture this made. A fancy black car pulled over to talk to a group of teens, mostly still in beachwear. Miranda was incredibly confused and shrank back to watch. Terry tilted her head in an unspoken question. Cove made a quick gesture pointing towards Baxter, and a light bulb went off to Terry.
All right.
Ah, that's the new person in the condo. The B-man, right? Yeah, Baxter. Oh, I wasn't sure if I'd ever actually see him. Her voice was quiet. Miranda usually got shy around new people. Terry was quite the opposite. Incredible! This is perfect! Terry hopped up from the grass and ran to Baxter's car, all full of excitement. Behind her, Miranda picked herself up and dusted imaginary dirt off her clothes. She sent a searching look to you and Cove, to which Cove shrugged. Miranda nodded and, with clenched fists, hesitantly followed Terry. Terry bent down to talk to Baxter through his window. She blasted through introductions, with Miranda putting in a shy wave. Cove looked at you. He still clearly had no intention of going over. You stayed with Cove. When Cove realized you were planning to stay with him, he smiled a little. Cove shuffled closer and dropped his voice. Honestly, I still find it kind of hard to talk to that guy. You know he can still see you, right? He knows you're here. You kept quiet and got comfortable. Cove took your silence with a nod and started to fidget with the grass. You watched him make a mess of twisted, knotted grass. You just watched the girls talk to Baxter. Terry took the lead, of course. Even if Baxter was practically a stranger to her, she leaned halfway into his car from the window. Miranda hung back, looking uncomfortable but interested. Every so often, Terry would say something to bring her into the conversation. From the little you could see of Baxter, he seemed to be enjoying the attention. Sometimes when Terry gestured enthusiastically, his eyebrows would furrow in confusion, but then be replaced by a polite smile within seconds. The two of you waited for the others to finish up. You couldn't hear what they were saying from there, but you could see from body language that Terry was up to something, and Miranda didn't like it. You and your neighbor exchanged a look. After Miranda seemed to calm down slightly, Terry turned around to wave at you. She put her hands to her face and to make a megaphone. Come on, get over here! Baxter is giving us a ride! I thought that might happen. Cove's mouth popped open in surprise, then his lips curled together in clear displeasure.
All right.
I should have known. She's always pulling something. He took a slow breath and then shrugged. Guess we have to get... What is up with my throat? Guess we have to get over there. It's gonna be really awkward now since he knows we tried not talking to him. Yeah. You followed him over to the car, apparently about to get a lift. You were just happy to get a ride. You were kind of annoyed that Terry did this. You felt uncomfortable to be getting a ride from Baxter, since I barely know him. You didn't know Baxter well enough to feel safe with him driving. Sure, you doubted he was going to kidnap everyone or something. Your group had the numbers, and you were pretty sure you could all take him in a fight, but it still felt weird. You weren't in the habit of climbing into random people's cars. It always felt awkward. The seats, the smells, and everyone's car etiquette were always different. You felt stressed out that Terry had put this on you. You arrived at the driver's side car window, and Baxter smiled welcomingly. Hello. Hey. Cove greeted him mildly, his expression cautious. Hi. Alrighty, plan made. Let's hop in. You hesitantly opened the back door and slipped inside. The car was clean and smelled of air freshener. You stared at Cove for reassurance as you scooted all the way to the other side. Cove squeezed into the middle after you. Miranda took the last seat in the back, and you all tried to awkwardly buckle up. Were back seats really made for 3 adults? It honestly didn't seem like it. Terry gladly took the shotgun seat and had all the room she wanted. Welcome to my vehicle. I hope everyone is comfortable, and if someone could point me in the right direction, we can be on our way. Terry went back to navigator mode and outlined their journey. It was basically a straight line with one turn at the end into the parking lot. Baxter nodded from up in the driver's seat and pulled back into the road. Luckily, the street was still dead empty. It took no time at all for Baxter to park right next to Cove's car. There wasn't even enough time for a proper conversation to start. The occupants didn't seem to mind. There were smiles all around when Baxter parked next to Cove's car. Woo! Miranda clapped quietly as Terry cheered. Cove chuckled nervously. You smiled. You were relieved you had made it. The trip had gone without issue. Baxter hadn't sped excessively or stopped for another set of teenagers in swimsuits. You'd just driven down the road and now you were here. You sighed a breath of relief and put your hand on the door handle. We've arrived. That was easy. Terry flung open her door and climbed out. Thanks! Everyone else exited the car as well. The group thanked Baxter with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Baxter himself got out too. Everyone congregated again in front of Baxter's and Cove's cars. Terry bounced over to Baxter and offered her hand for a handshake. He accepted it easily with a charming grin. You're a pal. You're too kind. It was no trouble whatsoever. I'll be keeping this car all this summer. If it suits you, you're welcome to take my number and give me a ring whenever you're in need of another ride. And that goes for everyone here. I have a car. Terry busted into laughter, and Miranda fidgeted. She did not know what to do with that. Baxter really went fast, didn't he? He noticed her discomfort and smiled with a soft tilt of his head. I'd be happy to help again, but that's the only reason I offered. If you don't need it, you can pass on it. You stayed silent. When her giggles subsided, Terry put her hand to her chin and her brows furrowed. I wondered. Would that option be available right now? You could valet us somewhere cool. What? Cove was taken aback. He put his hand on the hood of his car. Weren't we going back to the neighborhood? Wasn't Baxter going back to the neighborhood too? Why would we go somewhere else? Because we can. Miranda squirmed nervously and then committed to piping up.
Maybe?
We could go to a park near my place. It's a really nice place to hang out. You and Cove shared a look. The big park was pretty nice. Let's do it! Baxter tapped the side of his face in thought.
It's doable.
That sounds doable. He glanced at Cove and then switched focus to you. Well, we have two cars. If some people want to go to the park, I could still take the others home. But if everyone's going, it wouldn't make sense for me not to. Social anxiety! You'd rather go back for now. You let the group know. And then nothing more happened. Both girls frowned. Neither wanted to leave you or Cove behind. Terry especially looked troubled and started bouncing in place. Today is all about us hanging out. We can't just bail. Miranda nodded and bit her lip. We don't have to go to the park. Going back to the neighborhood has plenty of appeal. It could prove to be a better idea. Cove winced and shook his head. No, really, it's fine. We've done plenty of hanging out today. If you want to go to the park, you should. Right, you can have fun with Baxter. It's okay. Okay. She didn't sound too thrilled, and Miranda patted her on the shoulder. Guess we'll see you later, then? Probably. Cove smiled, and she rolled her eyes at his wishy-washy answer. He knew you'd be seeing them again. Everyone finished saying their goodbyes, and the three climbed into Baxter's car. You watched. Terry immediately started poking around the car's stereo system, and Baxter didn't seem inclined to stop her. Miranda settled herself in the back seat and took a deep breath when she buckled herself in. Terry pulled out her phone, and you thought she was going to help navigate to the park. Then Baxter rolled down his own window.
See you.
Have a safe journey back. I'll see you around the neighborhood. If you do anything to my girls, I'll cut you. Baxter started to pull out of the parking lot, and Cove waved them off, stepping forward as they pulled away. Then it was just you and Cove left in the parking lot. He rubbed his hands together for a moment and unlocked his car. You got into the shotgun seat this time, and Cove took his place at the wheel. He put his key in the ignition and turned to you. I had a feeling you wouldn't want to go. I was ready to go back. Thank you for giving me an out. You didn't respond to that. Actually, I only wanted to go so that you had a reason to leave. I was ready to go back. Cove smiled, satisfied, and finally turned his key to start the car. The car ride back passed quickly. They were all familiar roads you'd seen before. Soon you'd return to the comfort of your own neighborhood. Cove pulled in and parked. He shut off his car. Then you both got out to stand in the road.
I guess
that's it. Thanks for the ride, Cove. I'll see you later. It was fun. Pleasant farewells given, you walked to your front door. You completely changed out of your swimsuit and into more comfortable clothes. That was definitely a benefit of coming back. Time ticked by as the sun started to set. Orange gold light streamed in through the windows. You could tell the weather was still really nice out there. Your attention was taken by your phone. You saw it right away as the phone was in your hand. Miranda's personalized text tone sounded. It vibrated on your desk. You went over to see what was going on with that. Hi, Risa. We're gonna see fireworks. Do you want to come? Oh. And Terry texted Cove. He said he'll be there. How did their trip start at hanging out in the park and end at finding some previously unknown fireworks spectacle? It was definitely news to you. Fireworks? I'm tired. You typed a response to Miranda and let her know your plans didn't include fireworks tonight. Miranda sent back an okay and wished you a nice night with a smiley face. You hit the lock button and gently dropped your phone on your bed before you flopped down to relax. It had been quite the day for you after all. From the beach to crepes then meeting up with Baxter, it had definitely been busy. Your eyes felt heavy and you shifted to get more comfortable. You let yourself drift off to the memories of today's waves. And that was that.